Hello, pattern readers. It's been a hot minute since we've had any Wheel of Time news to break down, but I am super excited to talk about this latest drop and to break it all down with you. At New York Comic Con, the Wheel of Time had a live panel featuring the cast members you see here: Marcus Rutherford, who plays Perrin, Madeleine Madden as Egwene, and of course Daniel Henney as Elayne, and Rafe Judkins, the showrunner. It kicked off with this video from Rosamund Pike, which she posted on her Instagram, and I'll link that for you. It's pretty adorable and also chaotic, and features Rosamund talking to the Moiraine version of herself and revealing some information, such as that Moiraine pushes everyone away from her in season 2, and she goes to her home city of Cairhien. Rafe Judkins confirmed that season 2 will take us to essentially the end of book 3. He also confirms that Perrin will not have a love interest in season 2, but that he is working on a known character for season 3. So if you've read through at least The Dragon Reborn, you will know which character he's talking about. Most disappointing to fans eagerly anticipating season 2 is that Rafe says it's still a ways away. That's very open to interpretation. I think we can definitely conclude we're not going to see it by the end of 2022, which I wasn't really expecting. I do think it still leaves open the possibility of first quarter 2023. The panel was then joined by the new Matt Cawthon, Dónal Finn, and he got to talk about his character and what to expect from him in season 2. I can honestly tell you that he is going to be the perfect Matt, and I can tell you that because I've seen him perform on stage recently in the musical Sing Street in Boston, and he was just wonderful. If you were physically there in the audience, then you got to see a short clip of Dónal Finn as Matt. The rest of us were not so lucky. Hopefully that clip will eventually be released. But he talked about the scene being with Liandrin, and that is very intriguing, and that he's actually had multiple scenes with her in season 2, so I can't wait for that. The last addition to the panel is the lovely Ceara Coveney, who'll be playing Elayne in season 2. Her cast members had so many glowing things to say about her, including the moment when she becomes the Lion of Andor. So I'm really hyped for her performance as well. Just like with Matt, there was a short clip to introduce the character of Elayne to the live audience that we're still waiting to see. It features Elayne in the White Tower as a novice. And when we get that scene, I will be happy to share it with you and break it down. For the rest of this video, I am going to be breaking down the sneak peek we did get of season 2 and going shot for shot. In my speculation, it will inevitably include major spoilers through the second book, The Great Hunt. If you haven't read that far, I really urge you not to watch the rest of this video because there are going to be some major spoilers upcoming. Otherwise, let's dive right in. I wish I could be a little bit more specific about what I think is happening in this scene. I do count 11 figures on horseback. It's always possible I'm missing one, so let's say 12 at most. The landscape here does look to be different from anything we saw in season 1. I'd go ahead and guess that this might have been filmed in Morocco. We do know that some of the scenes filmed in Morocco were for Falma, so if you're really going to force me to guess, I would say that maybe this is a group of characters heading towards Falma, and if you want me to go further, I'll say maybe Perrin's group, because that's the only group that specifically seems to fit that we already know about. Here we have shirtless and hairless Rand. It looks like maybe he's hiding out somewhere, possibly a little bit contemplative, but this shot reminds me of some things we've seen before. For starters, it reminds me of this shot we got in a previous teaser, a behind-the-scenes teaser for season 2 released at San Diego Comic-Con. Here we see Rand walking through the set. As I mentioned previously, I think this set is most likely to be for the Foregate of Cairhien. And I think the style of building could match what we see here. But this I'm even more sure of. How similar does this window look? Here's a lightened up version. In this shot from, again, the behind the scenes teaser, I talked about how this shot of Min could be when she's been captured by the Shan-Shan. But there's really nothing definitively to say that. I was going mainly on the different hairstyle that she's sporting here. Either way, is this confirmation that we do have a meetup between Min and Rand in season 2, either in Falma or somehow in Cairhien? Moiraine's voiceover over this shot says, "We did not defeat the Dark One." As you recall from the end of season 1, Rand at least believed that this man might be the Dark One. Note the slatted windows in the background. It looks to be the exact same style that we see in the shot of Rand. We then have a shot of Rand asleep and then opening his eyes, and that suggests to me that this man is appearing in Rand's dreams again. Over this shot, Moiraine says, "We set his strongest lieutenant free," and this man seems to be the same one Rand had thought was the Dark One. So there's maybe less mystery here. They're kind of letting us know this man is not the Dark One. Here we have a woman drenched in blood, hair over her face, and a bloody hand extended. She then flexes her fingers, and we see a man's hand grab hers. And look, it's hard to say much from just a hand and a tiny bit of sleeve, but I do believe the sleeve matches that very same man, and that is who we're seeing here. But what is happening? Our best clue may come from Maureen's next voiceover line, which occurs over the next shot, but what she says is, he may be waking the Forsaken. So could this be one of the Forsaken that he is waking? And if I had to guess, I would guess it is Lanfear, though why she would be covered in blood, I really have no idea. Even though Moiraine mentions the Forsaken in the voiceover over this shot, I actually don't think this group of people is all Forsaken. We do see the only person without a hood covering his face is the man, who is not the Dark One. And we see 11 other people, 12 total. The rest of them have their faces covered. I believe this is the show's version of the prologue to The Great Hunt, casually known in the fandom as the Dark Friends Social. I love how we have so many details from the costumes here to help us try and figure out who these people are. For starters, here with the white gloves, I'm going to call that for our pal Bors the White Cloak. Next to him on his right, from hands and sleeves, appears to be Dónal Finn. On Bors' left is someone wearing armor, and I'm going to guess that's going to turn out to be Ingtar. To the right of the man is what appears to be a woman wearing an Aes Sedai ring. There's no further details here. On his left is a woman in a red dress. And although this does not look to be Liandrin's style, it certainly does make you wonder about another red Aes Sedai. We switch to a scene of Seanchan soldiers who have captured some of our friends. My man Uno here is down on his knees face to face with some kind of creature. And then we see in the background we have Perrin and Loyal and at least one of the other Shinarans. And it can't say for sure, but that looks like it could be Massima in between them. The detail in the Seanchan costumes is really awesome. So we definitely are getting that insect feel from their armor, and their shoulder pieces seem to be designed to be Grolm, and you can tell that because of the 3 eyes. Though they also seem to match the figureheads on the ships we saw at the end of season 1. And there's certainly some differences here in the way this creature is designed compared to the way Grolm are described, so it's possible that they are combining a few different creatures into one. The other thing that is worth noticing is this woman here on the left. I'm not exactly sure what role she's going to have here, but we can see she's got some kind of thing covering her mouth, similar to what we saw from the Damane at the very end of season 1. This shot of Perrin, he seems to be down on the ground looking up at someone. Loyal is behind him, and I would say this is leading into the scene we just saw of him being captured. He has the same costume on. The set in the background looks very similar. Perrin also has a noticeably fuller beard than he wore in season 1. And now we have our first official shot of Dónal Finn as Mat. It's really worth noting here how similar this costume is to what we saw from Mat in season 1. So could that be an indication that this is very early in season 2? I do hope that we get to see Mat have a change of clothes at some point here. But I will also note that the background really doesn't look like he is in Tar Valon, so that is interesting. He is looking up in the sky and seems pretty concerned about whatever he's looking at. The costuming here makes it very clear that this woman is one of the Seanchan nobility, and I will go further and say that I believe she is likely to be the High Lady Suroth. Most likely played by the actress Karima McAdams, by the way. We get a better shot of this really elaborate headdress and mask, but the other details that stand out to me are the pleating in her costume, and of course these 2 extremely extended fingernails on 2 of her fingers, and those details are really drawn directly from the books. We see her flick those 2 fingernails up and then down, probably as a way of communicating, and end with a close-up on her hand, so we can really see the detailing. There's some metal jewelry here that are either protecting the fingernails, or perhaps the fingernails aren't real. It does look like they're meant to be real. It's hard to say for sure, but either way, I really like it. Moiraine's voiceover continues here. She says, "You have no conception of the power they wield." I'm assuming talking about the Forsaken. And it's clear here that she's talking to Lan, and she seems angry. Lan, looking back at her, looks shocked or possibly even terrified, which is a surprising look for him. But I'm guessing a lot of the subtext here is that Moiraine still does not have the ability to channel, which is affecting their bond, and both of them are probably reacting very strongly to this. Another shot of a line of Shan-Chan soldiers. I don't have much to add here other than it's nice to see how much color they are incorporating into these costumes. It's really just a treat to look at. We have a surprising shot of Nynaeve with her hair unbraided and wearing unfamiliar clothing. She's standing in a field with long grasses. And this makes me think that this could be from the testing she takes to become an accepted in the White Tower. And perhaps this is some vision of the past where she was younger before she would have braided her hair. We know that an actress has been cast to play Nynaeve's mother in season 2, so I'm guessing she's going to make an appearance in this scene. Hey look, they've given us some eye candy. A shirtless Lan working through some sword forms. But I'm sure, knowing Lan, he's not just working the sword forms, he's probably using this as a way of trying to work through some feelings. And hey, it looks like Nynaeve is doing the same thing. In her case, mostly anger. She's doing what appears to be some sword training with some warders in the White Tower. I'm guessing these are Alana's warders. And what would be interesting here is if the warders basically offer the option for anyone to come train with them, because this would be unusual for an initiate of the White Tower to do this, but I could also see Nynaeve really wanting to. By the way, for any book reader who thinks that it would be out of character for Nynaeve to want to learn the sword, I will take you to this quote from chapter 18 of The Great Hunt. Swan says to Nynaeve, "I suspect you will learn a great deal once you reach the White Tower." Nynaeve, "I'd rather one of the warders taught me how to use a sword." Moiraine here seems to be sort of crouched, sort of hiding. At night, she is clutching a dagger and she's looking off at something and looking pretty scared. I'm sure at least part of the context here is that she still, again, cannot channel and is therefore facing some kind of threat, probably shadow spawn, that she has very little ability to defend herself against. Yet another shot of the Shan-Chan, this time on some battlements with banners hanging. I would guess this is Falma, but the other noteworthy thing here is the central figure appears to be the High Lord Turok. And note how he has these extended finger pieces on his armor, almost like those long fingernail extensions we saw on who is probably the High Lady Suroth. So again, it's kind of mimicking that. We have a shot of Egwene, probably in the White Tower. She's wearing her white novice dress with an apron over it, and her expression is very serious and possibly even sad. Also, take note of the fact that her hair is not braided here. For this image, I am going to discuss possible spoilers from the beginning of Book 3, The Dragon Reborn. Mat looks to be lying in bed, his head resting up against a carved headboard. He's looking at a candle flame, and he looks sort of grim. I would suspect that he's in the White Tower here, and this is around the time that he gets further healing from the Shadar-Logoth dagger. Here we have Loyal, and someone has put ropes around him, and clearly someone has pissed off an Ogier, which you do not want to do. I'm going to suspect this has to do with the scenes we saw of him apparently captured by the Shan-Chan. Moiraine appears to be having a bath here, one of her favorite activities. However, she looks downright miserable with tears in her eyes, and I'm wondering if this has to do with the loss of the power, or could it be something else? And then our boy Rand here is also not having a good time. Shirtless again, this time he is literally bound to a wheel, which we have seen before. So what could he possibly be doing bound to this torture wheel? I would have a hard time believing that this is something that is literally happening. Of course, you never know, but it makes me suspect more so a dream, one of his own or one of Egwene's perhaps, or maybe even someone's accepted test and envisioning something happening to him. In this quick shot of Perrin, he first appears to be angry, and then his face sort of shifts a little bit more towards shocked or scared. It looks like it might be preceding this shot, which we saw earlier in the teaser. We have another shot of Uno looking pretty badass, this time fighting a Shan-Chan soldier at night. In the background, we can see another figure fighting a different Shan-Chan soldier, and it looks like it could be a White Cloak. So I'm wondering if this is in Falma. Here we have the Amyrlin's seat, getting out of what looks to be a carriage and looking upward as she does so. It seems like she would be traveling outside of Tar Valon in this shot. She's wearing another gorgeous, intricate gold outfit and headdress. I'm going to go ahead and guess that she is not traveling to Faldara, which is the only location we see her travel to in second or third book. I just suspect this is going to be somewhere else. What could bring her out of Tar Valon? Most likely either Moiraine or the Dragon Reborn. When we get to this shot, we see who has been doing the recent voiceover, saying the only way to stop all this suffering is to stop the wheel itself. We have another shot where there's some fighting happening at night, and there's definitely some Shan-Chan soldiers in here again. In the foreground is a character who I think is a Shienaran soldier based on the armor and also the way he's wearing his hair. And my best guess would be maybe this is Ingtar, but I can't be sure about that. There are some other characters in the background also fighting Shan-Chan soldiers, and they could just be random villagers, but this one over here, I'm wondering if it could be Elias. Most devastating shot of the teaser, Egwene screaming and wearing what is clearly the collar of a Damani. This part of the show definitely going to break a lot of us. A group of white cloaks charging on horseback toward a walled portion of a city, and I think this is Falma once again. Some really dark looking figure in a cloak. It's probably a Fade, and it's raising this bloody, grim looking blade. I am guessing that this scene connects to this shot that we saw of Moiraine. More Shan-Chan soldiers running at what looks to be on top of the battlement walls, probably in Falma. In this final shot, we have a figure trying to break through a gate as flames rise around them. At first glance, it would look to be a Shan-Chan soldier. We have the red tunic, we have the helmet that looks familiar, and some other pieces. It does look like they're missing some pieces of armor, and that makes me wonder if this isn't a Shan-Chan soldier, but perhaps someone who has borrowed pieces of a soldier's outfit in order to try to blend in. Well, that does it for this teaser. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What did you think of this drop? What are some things you're now expecting to see in season 2? What are you excited for? If you enjoyed this video, please leave me a like and consider subscribing. I will definitely be back with more Wheel of Time content very soon. And I have to end with something I have not said in a while. Gird your loins, my friends.